My name is Keith Justice from Juice Technologies. We are a QuickBase solutions provider and partner. We've been working with QuickBase for many years since its inception. We've considered ourselves experts with the API. We build a lot of different integrations with QuickBase, and the DocuSign for QuickBase integration is just one of our latest add-ons that we provide to the user community of QuickBase. And today, what I like to do is start off with an overview of our newest functionality or newest feature set of our DocuSign for QuickBase add-on. We released our DocuSign for QuickBase add-on in probably around November of 2013. And I had a webinar back in December, and a majority of you guys might have attended that, and where we showed some of the basic features of the add-on and some of the things that we were planning on doing in the future. And actually, today's webinar is about one of the future enhancements that we had planned, and that is being able to collect data in the document that is going to be DocuSigned and then bring that data back into QuickBase. So we'll also go through a couple of use cases. So why would we want to use DocuSign to collect data and bring it back? I'll actually show you what we talk about in this in the presentation here live with our QuickBase application, my DocuSign account as well. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about some of the things that we plan on doing in the future with our DocuSign integration add-on. So again, what we're going to do is show you how we can collect data by using DocuSign and QuickBase together, but more importantly, using DocuSign as the primary way of collecting the data. And when we say we're going to collect data, so who are we going to collect the data from? We can collect data from QuickBase users, obviously, but also, more importantly, non-QuickBase users. So you have that case where you want to send some information out to some of your clients, and you might have maybe 100 or 1,000 or even more clients, and it really is not practical to set up new QuickBase users for each one of those customers. So we have a way that you can use our integration add-on in DocuSign so you can collect that information from those customers and still be able to use QuickBase as you love to use it today. So basically, we can send a document to a DocuSign person, anybody who has an email address. So if you have an email address, we can send you a document with data from QuickBase via DocuSign. And then what we want to do is show you how we can take that data that we collect in DocuSign, in the DocuSign document, and bring that back into QuickBase. And what I mean is not just the document itself, and we've shown you in the past with the phase one of our DocuSign for QuickBase add-on integration, was how we can just send the document out, have it signed, and bring the full document back into QuickBase. The benefit we're going to show you here is how we can take individual data elements that the end user enters into the document itself and break those data elements out and store them into individual fields within our QuickBase table. So two use cases that we see, and I'm sure there's plenty more, but just two of the ones that we've been working on and that we'd like to show you in this demonstration is client profile information. You might have a lot of customers and you're storing client profile data in QuickBase, and you might periodically need to get updates from your customers. Maybe they changed their shipping address or their billing address or their accounts payable representative or contact. Or maybe they have some license data, license information that you want to capture, or software that you might be selling them or services you might be providing them where you need to capture some of the updated information in QuickBase and store that. And in the past, you've probably been calling them or sending them emails and trying to get them to respond back so that you can keep your data updated. Well, we're using our DocuSign for QuickBase integration. We can actually send that email out, but then grab that data right back into QuickBase without having manual data entry on your side or the company side. Then the other use case we have is for credit card authorization forms. A lot of you might be accepting credit cards right now, and we're a big, obviously we accept credit cards too because we charge a fee for our add-ons. And we're always asking you guys to provide us with credit cards if you are customers of ours. And sometimes gathering that credit card information is a challenge. And how do we do it, and how do we keep it up to date, and is it PCI compliant? Where are we storing those credit card numbers after we get them? And is that storage repository PCI compliant? And if someone does feel that they want to store that information in QuickBase, we know ourselves as partners that that's not the right way to save credit card information. And actually, if you do save credit card information or credit card numbers in QuickBase, you will be violating the terms of service. So how do we get around that? And we found a way by using DocuSign and our DocuSign for QuickBase integration add-on, where we can use DocuSign, which is PCI compliant, and we can use that as a repository for our credit card authorization forms in this case, so that we can store that credit card information securely and safely and not have to worry about storing it in QuickBase and possibly violating our terms with QuickBase. So in the rest of this demo, we're going to focus in on credit card authorization forms. That's what we're going to give you a live demo of, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next few slides. So if I have a credit card authorization form, and this, you don't have to be able to read this just to kind of see. It's a basic form which is asking, I'm going to send this out to my customers. I'm basically going to ask them for some information. I'm going to ask them who they are, what their billing address information is, phone number, email. Then I'm going to also need to know what the card type is, the cardholder name, number, expiration date, and the CVV. And I'm also going to look for a signature. And this is a typical format of an authorization form. And when that comes back, obviously it's going to be filled out by the customer with their information that I asked them to provide me. And then now comes the question is, what do you do with this when you get it back? What do you do with the physical document? And then what are you going to do with each piece of data? If you need to update your QuickBase database and break out that information and store it in QuickBase, how are you doing that? More than likely, you're probably manually, handing it off to maybe a team member of yours and asking them to enter that data into QuickBase. So they'll have to find the customer profile record, edit the record, and enter this information, then store the document there as well. So your QuickBase, for simplicity, maybe you have a QuickBase form that looks like this, and some of the pieces of this form you might want to have broken out into individual fields in QuickBase. But wouldn't it be nice if you could just extract the data elements of that DocuSign document and actually have the extracted elements go right into your QuickBase fields like this? So wouldn't that be cool? So before we get into the demo, I'm just going to talk about what's going on in the process here. So we have our QuickBase application, and the form itself, the authorization form, it can be generated using another add-on of ours, Exact Forms Plus. Some of you might already be customers of ours with that add-on. So you can use Exact Forms Plus to present that document in a nice, professional-looking manner. But you don't have to use Exact Forms Plus. We can also, you can have some external process you might have that creates documents for yourself, and it doesn't have to be authorization forms. It could be any type of form, contracts, license agreements, etc. And you can just upload that file into a file attachment field in QuickBase. But either way, whether you're using Exact Forms Plus to generate your documents, or if you're just uploading the documents themselves and storing them in QuickBase, you can use our integration add-on. So you can get the information from the file attachment field right over to DocuSign. And what our integration add-on is going to do is it's going to send it over to DocuSign. DocuSign is going to send it to the recipients or the people who need to perform some action on the document, whether they're entering the data in the document or signing off on that document. And then DocuSign is constantly communicating back to our integration add-on and letting us know what's happening in the process. Did the customer get the email and open it? Have they not opened it? Have they not done anything with it? Or have they opened it and voided it? So that's what DocuSign is telling us about that, what's called envelope that goes out to the customer with that document in it. And then what we do is we're constantly updating QuickBase. So when DocuSign tells us what's going on in the process, we're telling QuickBase what's going on in the process. And we're actually going to be sending back the data itself that comes back from that interaction between the client and DocuSign. So why don't we go right into the demo. So I'm just going to switch my screens here. Okay. So what I have here is our demo application, and this is open to everyone on the internet. So everyone here can do their own demo in this application. And I have some other tabs open here. I have my DocuSign account, and I have my Gmail account because that's where I'm going to send the email to. So from our demo application, I'm going to go over to my client table, and I'm going to add a new client. So since we're big hockey fans and playoffs are going on right now, maybe NHL is one of our customers. And I know they're in Manhattan, so let's just, I think they're on 6th Avenue. So we'll enter some high-level profile information, and maybe Wayne Gretzky's over there. And Wayne Gretzky happens to have my email address. So I'm entering my email address because I want to receive the document when it's created. And I'm going to actually set up a frequency. So I'm going to charge, because basically what I do is I want to create an authorization form, and I want to set up a monthly frequency for $40 a month. So I'm basically have my client profile information here. Again, it's very simple because I don't want to have hundreds of fields out here with some typical applications might have, but for simplicity's sake, we'll stick with this. So I have my QuickBase record, my client profile information saved. And now I'm going to generate that authorization form, and I'm going to use Exact Forms Plus to do that. So I click this button here, and it's calling our Exact Forms Plus utility, and it's going to use a template that we have stored in our template table, and it's going to generate this document. It's generating a PDF, and it's presenting it on the screen. So you can see we pulled some information that I entered from QuickBase, Wayne Gretzky for the NHL, and we actually have the month. We're going to charge on a monthly basis $40 a month, but I want to receive this information back from my customer because I need to store this document on file as well as update QuickBase when it comes back. So I'm going to close this document now. I'm going to refresh my QuickBase. So here's that file again, that Exact Forms Plus created, and if I click it quick, we can see that it is a PDF document. And we're actually going to send, when we send this document, we're taking it right out of this file attachment field. So that's why when I said before, it doesn't have to be generated from Exact Forms Plus. You could edit this record and upload any type of file. As long as you tag it properly, you can send it off to DocuSign. But we'll get into that a little later. So right now, you can see I have a bunch of fields here that kind of correlate to some of the fields that the data elements I want to capture from my customer. And right now, obviously, they don't have anything in them. And now we also expose a little more information about some of the DocuSign properties that we control within QuickBase. And we allow you to control as well in your QuickBase application. So we set this up because when we create what's called the envelope to DocuSign, we tell DocuSign, okay, send an email out to Wayne Gretzky at this email address, and he's going to be a signer. Send this as the subject. And again, these are formula text fields, so you can control that. And the body of the message should say this. And then when you create that envelope, start a reminder process so that just in case that person doesn't open up the document, that we're letting him know that, hey, you have a document that you need to complete for us. So don't start that process until 3 days after we create it. Start the reminder process 7 days after that delay, and expire the entire document after 120 days if we haven't heard back, but send a warning 3 days before that. And again, these are parameters we set as defaults, but you have full control over these in your own QuickBase application. So, and you also notice down here, we actually keep track of and you're going to see that this table here is our recipient table. You'll see that once we send the document to DocuSign, we actually start tracking it in QuickBase. So now I'm going to click my Send to DocuSign, which is actually going to take the information that we have compiled in our record here and send it off to DocuSign. So again, it just gives you a really confirmation page. This is what the subject is going to say on the email. This is the file that's going to go out to the customer. This is the customer, and the email address it's going to be sent to. The person is going to have to sign it. And this is a very simple setup, but you could send the document to multiple recipients. You can control the order in which they receive the document, and you can also have different actions. Maybe they're not a signer. Maybe they're just going to receive a copy, and so on. And again, here's those parameters that we talked about from a reminder perspective. But if everything looks good, you click your Create Envelope button. And now this is actually calling out to DocuSign through their API and it's going to create what's called an envelope. And you can see right now a new envelope has been created in our DocuSign account. So when I close this screen, and notice that there's nothing in this table right here, but when I refresh the screen, we're going to see that we also inserted a record into our recipient table. So now we can track what's going on in the process. And we keep stuff like what the full envelope status is, who we sent the document to, what they were supposed to do to that document. And we also track what's important to us is the status. So if you refresh this, and our integration, our add-on probably takes about 30 seconds to 45 seconds to update. But if you notice that status was blank and now it's no longer blank, because DocuSign actually did its thing and sent that document to the customer. If you look up in my tab up here in Gmail, you'll see I received an email. And now when I open up that email, here's some of that information. It's saying, hello, Wayne Gretzky, and the information is coming from Todd, because Todd is actually the owner of our DocuSign account. And again, when you sign up for DocuSign, you can control the email address that it comes from. So in this case, we use Todd's email address. But then here's the message body that we have in QuickBase. And then here's a link now that's going to let me view that document and actually do what I need to do to that document. So now I'm going to open it up in DocuSign, and I'm going to accept the terms of DocuSign, and I'm going to review the document. So now basically that same document that was sent from, that we created in QuickBase using Exact Forms Plus is now presented us with a bunch of tags. And it's asking us to perform some actions basically to fill out this document. But actually before I fill it out, I want to go back to QuickBase, because I want to show you that we're constantly updating the status. So since I opened that document in DocuSign, the status should change. And it might have changed already, and it might not. Usually, again, it takes between 30 to 45 seconds, but this status will end up changing to delivered. Oh, there it goes. So now it's delivered. So now you can also run reports as to how many documents have been out for signature, how many are out and delivered, how many are out and have never been opened, and so on. But let's go back to that DocuSign document. Let's do our thing here. So we're going to basically accept the pricing, and my card's going to be charged on a monthly basis for $40. So I'm going to accept the signature that DocuSign generates for me, and if I don't like that signature, I can always draw my own initials, or I can go back and say, yes, I accept that. And then I'm going to fill out my form. And notice there's also some other things going on here. You can see that we can do some data validation as well. So we can force different fields. And this is a DocuSign, this is considered a DocuSign email field. So DocuSign says, well, if you're going to enter data in here and it's considered an email tag, then make sure you put a valid email address in there. So let's put my email address in there. And then another tag that we use is a list picker tag, so you can actually control what cards that you accept. So let's say it's Visa, and I'm going to enter my cardholder name. And then I'm going to enter my card number, and here's another validation that we do. We validate that it's at least a right. It validates the check card, the card check process. So it has to be 16 characters, and it has to also conform to the check digit routines that are available, as well as we format our expiration dates. And then we're going to sign off, and we're going to accept our signature. And look, it's not going to allow me to complete this process until I do this properly. So if I try this, and so I didn't enter a valid number, so let's do that again. So now all the data I entered is valid, so I can confirm my signing. So now I basically finished my DocuSign piece, so I can go back to my QuickBase application. And if we scroll back up here, we see that these fields have not been populated yet because I haven't refreshed my screen. But right now, our integration add-on is being sent information from DocuSign saying that the process is complete. So here's the document, and basically what we're going to do is grab that document, and we're going to call DocuSign and grab the additional data out of DocuSign, and we're going to update QuickBase. And actually, we didn't do it all yet because we're still in the process of doing it. You're going to see the email address come next. So basically, we just grabbed that document, pulled everything out of it from DocuSign, and we updated our QuickBase fields individually, as well as we also brought back the signed document in a file attachment field, a separate file attachment field. So there you see our signature, initials, the data that I entered into QuickBase, into the DocuSign document, my signature, as well as the DocuSign certificate of completion, which is a pretty neat piece of documentation to have because it validates that this document was signed through DocuSign. And it also gives you a little bit of summary about what happened, when it was sent, when it was viewed, when it was signed, the IP address upon which it was signed from, who sent it, and so on. And you don't have to bring this back. We can bring this back as a separate file attachment field as well. In this case, we have bring them coming back together. Okay, I'm going to close this. So, and also, if we notice down here, our status is completed. So again, we can now ignore this one because we know that it's done, and we don't have to follow up on this one anymore. But one of the other things that we want to show you is, okay, let's take a look at that document again. If you notice, credit card number is asterisked out. And the reason for that is because we're using a concealed field in DocuSign so that we can kind of safeguard that credit card information. And when the document was actually sent back to us in email, because we have it set up to send back the completed document. So now I go back to my Gmail, and even when we're sending this in email, and it comes back as a file attachment in the email, and you'll also notice that, again, the card number is concealed. So we're not showing that card number in any emails or in QuickBase in the file attachment field. So what I want to do next is actually go into DocuSign. So here's my DocuSign account. So now the credit card information is stored. Where is it stored? Well, it's actually stored in DocuSign. And the next step would be, now I need to take that information and maybe update my merchant services account because now I want to log that credit card information. So I'm in my DocuSign account. I'm going to the envelope that was just sent out. And here's that document. Again, it's in DocuSign. But it's in DocuSign also concealed. But as a DocuSign user, I can get the data from that form by going to More, Form Data. So now we actually see that credit card number that I entered. So now here's the process where I would manually go in and take this credit card information, go to my merchant services account, and we use Intuit Payments as our merchant service supplier, vendor. And we'll enter that. We'll set up a recurring credit card charge, and we'll do that. This is a secure way for us to capture the data, capture the credit card data, and enter that information into our merchant services provider. Let's close this. Okay, so one of the things you might be wondering, I'm going to show you quickly, is, well, how do you map these out so that we know what fields should go where? And we do that. We have a separate table attached to our document templates table. Here's our template that we're using in this process. We call it our tags table. So we basically have all of those individual like boxes in DocuSign are considered tags. So let's take a look at the credit card number tag. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at the credit card list tag. So this tag here is set up to actually show the different choices we want in our drop-down list. And we actually enter those here. And that's how it'll appear in that tag. And we also tell it, well, you know what, when you update QuickBase, send it back to field ID number 19 in the table that the document was created from. And we also can do a lot of other things here. We have a lot of properties that DocuSign gives us and makes available to us, where we can put a custom validation message that will show in the document itself. We can also use a validation pattern, and I'm going to show you what that. I'm going to go into the credit card number field so you can see what we're doing with there. In the credit card number field, we actually use what's called regular expressions, and it's a common tool that a lot of developers use, and it's a way that you can pass in parameters through regular expressions, which will validate data that's in that particular field. And that's what we set this up to do some credit card validation based on the number that the person's entering. But it's just really to show you the power that we can actually pass in a validation pattern. So when the data is entered into that document in that specific field, that DocuSign will do the validation for us, because we're telling DocuSign, well, when the customer enters the data, make sure that they conform to this regular expression. We can also show a tooltip, and I think in one of the other fields we might have had a tooltip. And one of the other things what we're using is we're using what's called anchor tags. And the beauty of the anchor tag is we can tell DocuSign to create a tag in a document from an offset from some string that it finds in the document. So we put some hidden strings in our document, and the hidden string itself, once DocuSign finds it, it's going to go 3 centimeters over and 8.5 centimeters down, and it's going to place that tag. And that's kind of how we tag documents. And we actually do all of this setup for you at the beginning in the first document so that it's all working perfectly. But that's kind of the concept that we use. And the reason why we use an anchor tags is because a lot of times the documents fluctuate, and data will move around in the document. So to put like a hard X and Y coordinate, or let's say a left and a right, it's really not feasible. So we use anchors and offsets, and they work really well for us. So let's go back to our client record. And one other thing that we actually do within the QuickBase application is we actually show a nice dashboard. And I was talking before about the statusing. And we can kind of show you what's going on with your envelopes, all the envelopes that are out for signature, all the envelopes that are completed, all the envelopes that are voided or maybe declined. So this is a good way to visually see what's going on with all your interactions with QuickBase and DocuSign. And actually, this is kind of shown in DocuSign as well. We kind of mimicked what DocuSign does because they actually have their own little dashboard. And we thought it was pretty cool. So we thought, wait, it might be neat to try to recreate that in QuickBase because we have that data anyway. And that's kind of what we're doing. So you don't really have to go out to DocuSign to get that information. You can actually manage it right within QuickBase. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump back. Go back to my presentation. So just to talk about some of the things that we want to do in the future, the next natural progression for us is, well, now that you're capturing this data, wouldn't it be nice if we can actually send that right to our merchant service provider and not have to manually log in and enter that reoccurring charge or maybe that one-time charge. So we plan on integrating with e-payment gateways such as Intuit Payments, Authorize.net, PayPal, and there's a whole host of others. But the primary one we're going to integrate with is Intuit Payments, and mainly for selfish reasons because it's the one that we use, and it's the one that makes sense for us. And this process is going to work out really well for us when we need to send our documents out to our customers and grab that credit card information and actually have it update our Intuit Payments merchant service account. Just to let you know a little bit about pricing, what you have to do is you need a DocuSign account, like just like I showed you before from my screen over here. I have a DocuSign account. This is a demo account only because we're developers for DocuSign and partners for DocuSign as well. But and we also have a regular paid account because we send these documents out ourselves. So some of you might have gotten proposals from us through DocuSign. But so you have to have a DocuSign account. And the pricing for DocuSign, you have to have a minimum of a professional account. And that's they charge you annually, so you have to sign up for a year for them, and you can certainly go to their DocuSign pricing page right here. If you already have a DocuSign account, great. As long as it's a minimum of a professional account, we can integrate with it, or we can use it. And how we price, so you're going to pay a fee to DocuSign, obviously. And we have our own pricing, and we charge a one-time setup charge, which actually helps us get into your application, set it all up properly so that it can support our integration between QuickBase and DocuSign. We typically, we're going through some pricing changes of our own right now. Typically for this, we charge a one-time charge of $375, and that's to get your app set up, also tag your document and show you how to use those anchor tags like I was talking about before, so how to properly get them to appear in the document in the spots that you want them to appear in. We also charge a monthly hosting cost, and because of the recent changes within the QuickBase plan structure, we're going to be pricing similar to, or at least based on their pricing plans. And typically right now we're at the $40 a month on the low end. And we haven't really come up with the pricing for the other platforms yet, but that should be coming out within the next month or so. So basically our price to get going for now for our standard customers is $375 startup and $40 a month. We will be putting some type of limits on the number of envelopes you can create through each type of account, but again, we're still coming up with those limitations, but we just want to present them now anyway. So more information, how can you find out more about this? You can obviously go to our demo application, and that's a link to it there, and I can always send that to anybody who might not know how to get to it. That, again, is open to everyone on the internet, and you can actually do, we have a demo, we actually stepped through a pretty neat demo on that. And one thing I noticed is in this demo app, sometimes people don't fully go through the entire process. So just as a note, if you do try this demo, go through all steps, because it's a pretty cool demo, and if you enter a valid email address, you'll get to experience it better. And we're not doing anything with those email addresses. So I would suggest do it so that you can get the full experience from just kind of what you saw in the demo, where you get it from start to finish. But that's how you would go to the home page here, and you click the start button, and you just follow along the steps. It'll help you create a document, send it to DocuSign, receive it, and watch the status updates and so on. And we have our QuickBase tool site where you can find out more about all of our tools, as well as a help site. So we have a lot more detail about all of our add-ons on our Help Docs online site. And obviously you can find out more information about DocuSign from the DocuSign.com site. DocuSign has a lot of information there. You can look up on their PCI compliance if you're interested in what they say about that level of compliance that they conform to. And you can certainly contact us through info@juicetech.com. We can certainly provide you any information that you need for that. And what I'd like to do now is open it up to questions, but I figured I'd prime it a little bit and ask a couple questions myself just to try to get the ball rolling here. Just in case some of you might have joined late or are unsure about some of the things we talked about. Can the data entered into the document include validation? And I think I showed you that, where we can use regular expressions to validate the data, or based on the field type. If it's an email type field, there's some validation there, as well as required and unrequired. So we can force fields to be required so that if customers don't enter them, that the document won't be completed. And another question is the credit card number visible in the actual document itself? And the answer to that is no, because we're using concealed fields within DocuSign. If we weren't using concealed fields, then yes, they would be exposed and they would be available in the document. But DocuSign allows us to use what's called a concealed field so that we can make sure that it's not visible to anyone. And another question, if multiple recipients get that document, can they all see the credit card information? And we can set it up so that only the person who enters it would have access to that. So if it went out to 2 different people, because maybe somebody has to check off approved and somebody else has to then enter credit card information. So only the person entering the credit card information would see that. So basically that's my presentation. That's the demo. I primed it with some questions here. I'd certainly be happy to answer any other questions that some of you guys might have. You can certainly raise your hand to ask. I can actually open up your mic so that you can ask a public question if you don't mind asking a public question, or obviously you can send me an individual question through the questions on the webinar panel here. Let's see here. So does anybody have anything they want to share? Comments, questions? Okay. Okay, Sean, I think you have a question you want to share? Sean, you with us?
Yep. Can you integrate with QuickBooks Online, this type of solution?
Yeah, actually, we have a QuickBooks integration. We have not integrated with QuickBooks Online. Most of the we usually build a lot of our integrations based on demand, and a lot of our customers that have come to us have been on the QuickBooks Enterprise side or more of a desktop version. So we haven't integrated with QuickBooks Online. There might be a few other partners that have. It's not that we're not going to. It's just not something that we've done yet, or it's not something that's on our plate right now.
Yeah, it's new. I understand. I'm just wondering if technically for us to be able to take payment from clients, and we could still store it in QuickBase, but if that can be embedded in the website, if it could be built into QuickBooks Online, those sort of things, are they technically feasible?
Yes, they are technically feasible. And if you're using QuickBooks Online for your merchant, are you using Intuit Payments as your merchant service provider?
Well, some clients do for online or retail, but
right.
For us, right now, it would actually be just transactional as an accounting and tax firm, and for some other apps and whatnot.
Right.
But we'd like to be able to bring that, to a broader market.
I definitely understand, and it's something we have been getting requests more frequently now to do some integrations with QuickBooks Online. So it is something that we will put on our radar screen. Just to be honest, it's not right on our radar screen right now.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else? Okay, well, if no one else has any questions, I certainly appreciate you all taking the time to spend with us, and you can always hit me with an email or go onto one of our sites and send us some questions through our site. But again, thank you for your attendance.